You know you want to give up, that's just too difficult.
Kirsty Trigg endured 11 years of misery before her schizophrenia was diagnosed.
Just give up.
Like many sufferers, she would hear voices, making daily life an ordeal.
I was hearing things that sometimes were very unpleasant, constant, persistent interruptions, and I couldn't think about things without feeling like I was always fighting with my head, which was not doing the things I wanted it to do.
With a diagnosis and medication, Kirsty now has the voices under control, but she says it took a long time to realise she was schizophrenic. She hopes that a simple blood test pioneered by Cambridge University neuroscientist Professor Sabine Bahn will help others avoid such trauma. It's the first clinical diagnostic test of one of the most serious mental illnesses.
At the moment, the diagnosis of schizophrenia is still based on a patient interview. It's just asking questions, do you hear voices or do you believe that people are out to get you? If someone doesn't tell you yes to these answers, you will have no idea.
Bahn's team tested the blood of almost 600 schizophrenia patients, alongside that of healthy volunteers. Having identified 51 proteins associated with mental illnesses, they used an algorithm to establish the probability of mental illness in each of the volunteers. They correctly identified 83% of sufferers. Tel Aviv University researcher Dr. Noam Shamron, who's working on his own method of clinical diagnosis for schizophrenia, says he's impressed by Bahn's research.
This is a huge leap because currently, again, there is no molecule that you could measure in order to diagnose the disease, and any molecular markers, again, easily accessible, would be a huge leap in our understanding.
Bahn says the test isn't yet accurate enough to be used on its own, but will help doctors make their diagnosis. Since her own diagnosis, Kirsty Trigg has returned to work and lives a normal life. She believes early clinical identification of schizophrenia will help others cope with the stigma surrounding the illness.
If I'd had that diagnosis, I would have been able to equip myself better and not had to have as many hurdles along the way. I think for some people, again, if you can encourage people to accept a diagnosis or at least to communicate it to the people around them, it's probably life-saving.
Bahn hopes blood tests will help doctors identify and treat the disease in its early stages. Working with US-based diagnostic company Myriad Genetics, she hopes to launch the test within 18 months.